club that has been in the playoffs that want to go a lot further this year are the Vancouver Whitecaps. And joining us right now, the assistant coach is Gordon Forrest. Gordon, welcome to Red Card, my friend.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Pleasure's all mine to have you on. Gordon, let's talk about, unfortunately, a loss against FC Dallas. But I'm watching that game and I'm looking at both squads and I'm saying to myself, wow, there's a ton of guys under the age of 24, 25 that are lights out fantastic. Let's look at your squad. Unfortunately, you've got a massive amount of injuries right now, but the youngsters are stepping up. Russell Tebert, Kekute Mena, Kofi as well. This has got to be good to know that these youngsters can play in pressure-packed games. Talk about it.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. Again, we've got a few injuries, as you mentioned, but that just has opportunities for the young players to step in there. And you've mentioned a few there, but we've got Kekute Mane, Marco Bustos coming on and making his MLS debut, Kofi, Laba, there's Rivero. There's a good group we've got there. I mean, that's the way that we're trying to develop this club is working with younger players.
So how do you and Carl now really focus in on that confidence that must be, a little down with all those injuries, some tough losses, getting ready for the playoffs, and a lot is expected because you guys have had a tremendous season so far. How do you get that confidence back up? Is it maybe in training where you have some light training, some fun? How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a good group of players. There's a good camaraderie within the group. We've got a couple of experienced players that do help us out, working with a young team. But if you analyse the performances, the results haven't went our way, but we've had some good performances. We just got to think about the things that we need to step up a little bit. We created a lot of chances in the certain games that we've not managed to pick up the result, but we've got to start finishing these chances. We're back on the training field. We've got a trip to Honduras coming up next week, but training's always lively. It's always exciting, and we'll make sure the players enjoy themselves this week.
Let's talk about that Western Conference, Gordon. It is lights out, deadly, week in and week out. There's no easy opponent. There's no easy opponent in MLS, period. But let's be honest, in that Eastern Conference, you've got Philly and Chicago that have struggled mightily. But in that Western Conference, I'll never forget, I was talking to one of the media guys from San Jose about a month and a half ago, and they had a couple big games against DC and LA coming up, and he said that's their season. And all of a sudden, you look now, in San Jose, who was buried and out, are back in the thick of it all. You can never take a game off here in this Western Conference.
Yeah, no, it's been an exciting season. Some very, very good opposition, and every game is difficult. And it must be exciting for the MLS. It must be exciting for the fans to watch, and it's going to go right down into the last game to see where everyone finishes and who we play in the playoffs.
Gordon, I look at LA Galaxy. They've been champions for a number of years. They've got star-studded players, but I still don't see a specific identity from their team, whether it's a more offensive-minded team, whether it's a more defensive-minded team, or as they used to say in Italy, they play catenaccio, which is a defensive style of play. Is there a style that you and Carl Robinson want to implement with these youngsters in your team? Is there a way that you guys specifically want to be identified when other coaches are analyzing you?
Yeah, I think, right at the very start when Carl got the position, and going into the first pre-season, then, we go into that sort of trip with a playing model, a club identity that we're trying to put forward. And I think over the last two seasons, you can sort of see the way that we want to try and play. In particular, assemble a good squad, a good technically gifted squad with a lot of young players and a few older players in the mix here. But in terms of the playing style on the field, then we want to be exciting. Obviously, we don't want to lose goals, and we've done well in terms of a record for clean sheets. But we also want to be exciting going forward. We've got a lot of, as I mentioned, technically gifted players, but a lot of quick players that we like to attack quickly and hopefully create a lot of chances. So I think over especially this season, you can see that playing style and model coming alive.
Gordon, obviously you guys are not playing on that all beautiful grass surface that a lot of European nations play on here in North America. We have to have artificial turf just because of the climate. How different is it for you guys, Carl and yourself and the whole coaching staff, knowing that, let's say, you're going to be playing a Houston or a TFC, it's all grass, and your facility is unfortunately the artificial turf, but a good one added. How do you, go about playing that opponent and training in a certain way, because the ball's going to bounce differently, the speed of the player will be differently on and on?
Yeah, again, I mean, it's something that all teams have to deal with. That's one of the beauties of the MLS. When you're traveling or when you're at home, you've got to think about all these different situations. We're fortunate to have a grass field for a training facility, and we can also use the stadium and other turf areas we have to prepare the boys when we're playing on turf. So we've just got to think about that, and whoever we're playing week by week, we program that in to hopefully try and get used to the different surfaces as well.
Gordon, you've traveled all over the world. You've coached in some real important countries, and you're now here in MLS. In your honest, humble opinion, the Canadian player, the U.S. player, the youngster growing up in the both systems here in North America, compared to Europe, what are the major differences that you see specifically that are still holding the Canadian and American player back to be at the level that some European countries are, or even South American countries? I look myself in all the years I've seen here, and I take my own kids and I watch a lot of their games, and I say to myself, watching the Canadian team and the U.S. team, when they get into that box, it looks like they're lost offensively. They don't know what to do, unlike our European counterparts or South American. Talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's exciting to be here. It's exciting to be part of the North American system. When I first came into Vancouver, I was involved in the full-time residency program, and that matches up, if not better than a lot of the academies in Europe, and especially in the UK, where I know quite a bit about. So, first and foremost, we're getting it right over here. You can see all the MLS clubs are. They do have their own academies now. We're trying to grab the players younger or at the youngest age to make sure that they're developing through the club system. A lot of clubs now have their own USL franchise, which is excellent. It was a massive gap that was missing from that, that 18 to 23-year-old sort of part of the player development process. So, I mean, everything's growing here, which is exciting, and I think, it's just going to take a little bit of time, over the years, but you can see the effort that the MLS clubs are putting into developing young players, and for me in particular, it's exciting to be part of that, and especially at the Vancouver Whitecaps, where we do put a lot of time, effort, and resource into bringing our own young Canadian players into the first team, as you can see, and hopefully develop young Canadians for the national team as well.
Gordon, we talk about development, we talk about resources, we talk about spending a lot of time with developing young coaches, young players, but I think a lot of times we forget about the refs, and they take a lot of abuse, sometime warranted, sometime not, and without the refs, we have no game. I know back in Europe, you know this, and I think in South America too, they've started to get a lot of former players into the referee department to get them involved as much as possible, bring them to the highest level possible. And I think it's important for MLS as well to really start to get some former players involved that understand the game, that have been through a lot of the ups and downs, that can relate to the player, because I think today in MLS, a lot of these refs can't relate to the player or the coaches.
Yeah, I mean, again, I believe that the referees in the MLS, in the group there, are doing all they can to, again, keep developing, as a group. But you're right, it'd be always great to have, former players involved, maybe refereeing, but even on that consultancy basis as well, and helping referees out. But, I think the clubs are always open to working with the referees, and, even going as far as setting up any type of activity or meetings together, in the future, after games, pre-season, during the season, and it's going to be a collective, approach from the clubs, the referees, the MLS, just to keep developing the referees as well, just like the teams and the players.
You're bang on, Gordon. Just a couple more questions and we'll let you go. I look at Iceland and I smile and I say to myself, there should be no more excuses for Canada to try and qualify for a World Cup. If Iceland can qualify for the fiercely European competition, which I believe is just as fierce as a World Cup qualification, why can't Canada? Why can't Canada qualify for a World Cup? What did Iceland do to help them get to where they are today, where everyone's talking about them?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually played in Iceland for a season, a little bit ago now. But I remember when I was in Iceland, and they were really trying hard as a country to work together. That's everyone, in terms of the clubs, the associations, the referees, thinking about facilities, etc., etc. So they've obviously put a good plan in place, and and they're starting to get the fruits of that plan in Iceland, in terms of their population as well. So a lot of hard work went into that country, and again, I think the key thing is everyone working together to try and develop young players. I think in Canada we're getting there. We've got the 3 MLS professional clubs with the academies, and there's a lot of young players playing soccer here. My little boy plays soccer for a local club, and I think there's 4,000 plus players within that club. So there's great potential here in Canada to start developing players, and as you mentioned, hopefully that increases the performance and results of the national team. But I think the key thing is that everyone needs to stick together. Everyone needs to work together on that specific plan to try and make it happen.
Gordon, then lastly, let's talk about everyone staying on that plan together, everyone being united for the right reasons, developing a player to go on to play for their nation and going on to play for their pro club. Unfortunately, here in Ontario, I know for a fact, for sure in BC, it's the same with a lot of youth coaches, that they want to win at all costs. They want to win that $2 trophy, that $2 medal. They want to win that tournament to boost their ego, being afraid of losing players, on and on. I think this is a vicious disease. What's the advice would you give out there to some of these coaches that are thinking like this still?
Yeah, again, part of my background was sort of developing national plans. One in Scotland and also one in New Zealand. And I think the key thing is to take away that focus. It can be about winning, especially at the younger age. We've got to try and work with our players to develop that technique, to really enjoy their soccer and to grow through the edges and stages of a long-term player development plan. I think if coaches start emphasising, you've got to win, you've got to score, and you've got to get the ball up the field as quickly as possible, then, we're taking away the enjoyment and we're taking away the sort of development on that technical side. And we really need to relax that within the younger age groups and allow coaches to work with young players and be creative. We need more creative players. We need technical players. And the winning will come. The winning will come as they get older and through the different age groups.
Gordon, it was a pleasure having you on. Good luck in the playoffs. Much success to you, Carl Robinson, and the whole team. The city of Vancouver is starved for a winner. Bring one to them, because I know how important it is to the city of Vancouver to really embrace this squad as their own, as they have. Gordon, thanks again and good luck, and we really appreciate your time, my friend.
No problem. Anytime. Thanks, Anthony.
Gordon Forrest, assistant coach with the Vancouver Whitecaps. What a story they've been under Carl Robinson, a guy that I'm sure is going to have a lot of consideration for Coach of the Year votes, and why shouldn't he? He's done a tremendous job. Russell Tebert, Bustos, as you heard Gordon mention, Kakure Mene, Kofi. I'm even thinking of Marco Carducci, the goalkeeper that's coming up the ranks. They are loaded and stocked with youngsters. Unbelievable. Good luck to them. Quick